I don't know, it looks like my lettuce here is, it might be done for it. Welcome back everybody to my channel. I can't even begin to express to you the joy that is contained within me about this cold weather. This is a part of winter here in East Texas that I absolutely hate. Normally you see me with a t-shirt, maybe a flannel shirt on. Those are typically our winters. 50s, 60s, 70s during the day, and at night we get into the 40s and 30s at most, normally. But once or twice during the winter, we get these cold fronts coming down here that normally you guys up north experience all the time. But they come down here and it makes our life down here miserable, especially when you're trying to grow food. So let me show you what I'm doing here to prepare for this cold weather. Now, we down here don't, like I said, typically we don't get this. Maybe once or twice a year for a day or two, 3 at most. Although in 21, was it? We had that snowmageddon down here. And that was pretty bad. But we typically don't get this kind of weather. But when we do, it's a big deal because we're not prepared down here like you're up north. Let me show you how I'm taking care of the chickens for this cold weather. They're not used to that either, but they're pretty much all have feathers and everything now. During the spring, they were pecking each other's feathers and stuff, and some of them were looked all scraggly and half naked. It was pretty bad. But now they got their full feathers pretty much. And let me show you what I've done to keep them from getting too cold. All right, so obviously the most important thing for the chickens is to make sure they have water. Now my water here, okay, it was froze. But there's a layer of ice on there right now. It's probably 30 degrees right now, but it's been cold all night. So it was like 26 last night, and it's only gotten up to 30, so the water still froze. I'm gonna break it up a little bit for them. Ooh, that's cold. Anyways, if you're in the, upper 20s, low 30s, it's pretty easy to manage something like this. You just break the ice up every once in a while. So for the next couple of nights, tomorrow night, it's supposed to get down to the mid-teens, and that's pretty cold for us here. So let me show you how I'm going to take care of their water here. All right, so when it gets really cold like this and down into the low 20s and teens, I put their water inside their coop. Okay, here I have a 3-gallon set up here, but let me show you what I have it sitting on. So what this is sitting on here is this little water warmer, or little hot plate basically is what it is. You see that right there? I just plug this in and it keeps the water warm enough to not freeze. And this kicks on when the temperature falls below, I think 35 degrees, it kicks on. And it works out perfect. I'm going to put a link in the description where you can pick these up. But you have to make sure, if you don't buy this one, make sure it says it's for either the metal or the plastic waters. Okay? Because you don't want it to melt the plastic ones, of course. I tested this one out. I put my hand on it, plugged it in. And it almost gets too hot for you to touch. Almost. But you can keep your hand on there. And that's perfect. It'll keep the water from freezing in here. And this, I will let the water out here tonight so they can drink. And the same thing here on my other coop. I got, this one's not too bad, the ice. Just a little film of ice on here. They could still peck right through that. Okay, let me show you the setup I have inside. All right, guys, so inside the coop, I also have the same setup. This is full of water. And this is that hot plate I was telling you about, or the water warmer. I don't know if they call it a hot plate, but to me it's a big hot plate. But I got the cord running under the wood shavings, but this will get, like I said, warm enough to keep that water from freezing, and that's what we want. This is full, but I haven't opened the water up yet. I'm going to do that later on. Also, make sure all your windows are closed, obviously, because they can handle the cold weather as long as it's not windy and the wind's blowing on them. Because if the wind's blowing on them, they can feel it, okay? And the windshield does not feel good. Make sure they have plenty of food. Grains would be preferable when it's really, really cold. But if they like their treats, we always give them the soldier fly, grubtera, soldier fly larvas, and they love that stuff. But the grains will, keep them a little fattened up and warm. So let me show you what else I've done. So most of you know, if you watch my channel, I have rainwater catchment system. I have 4 3,000-gallon tanks here. There's 12,000 gallons of water, and they are completely full. Am I worried about them freezing? Not really. Here, these cold fronts that we get usually last 2 or 3 days. The worst one was, what was it, 21? I think it was 21 or 22. I don't even remember now. But we got down to the single digits and 0 in some places around here anyways. Now, for a couple days, those temperatures is fine. I checked up on it when it was that cold, and I had a very thin film of ice on the top. When you take the cover off, it's a very thin film. You can still break it with your hands. That's a lot of water to freeze, so that would take, that would take a better part of a week of those type of temperatures, single digits, for that to actually freeze. And if I knew that was coming, then I'd empty the tanks out, of course. All the plumbing for it, the pipes and all that, are all underground, close to roughly 12 inches. So I'm not worried about that. Our frost line here is 12 inches, but that never happens. So that I'm not worried about. And all the pipes that go into my the pump and the pressure tank, they're all insulated coming into the building. So I'm not too concerned about that. So let me show you the other stuff that I'm trying to take care of here. So under this tarp, and I just put this tarp on yesterday, I have my pressure tank and pump for my rainwater harvesting system. All the pipes. Now the building here is insulated. The pipes here, they're not insulated, of course, but I have a very small space heater here. I have it set on low. And I got it not pointing directly at the tank. You don't want anything to get hot. But I have it on low, and I got this covered to capture the heat. As long as it stays above freezing under there, I'm not concerned. And you gotta be obviously very careful with space heaters. But I just got it facing in an open area under there. You don't want nothing in front of it, obviously. And I just have it set on low. When it gets down to those single or teens tonight or tomorrow night, I'm just going to plug it in, and it'll just stay on low. As long as it stays in the 40s and 50s under there, it's perfect. It won't freeze them pipes under there. So that's how I'm taking care of my rainwater harvesting system pump and pressure tank. So how do we stay warm in the winter? I just installed last summer, 2023, this 4 to 5 ton Mr. Cool heat pump. Now in the summer, obviously, we get the air conditioning portion of it, and the heat comes out of here. And in the wintertime, it's reversed, and we get the cold coming out of here and the heat that's heating the house. The problem with these heat pumps are they're good to about 0 degrees Fahrenheit roughly before they start freezing up. And when they start freezing up, what happens is it turns back into an air conditioner. So this heats up, and up in the attic, the air handler that I installed brand new also that goes along with this, the emergency heat kicks on, and there's some coils in there that heat up. You don't need very much. Usually they're between 10 and 20,000 watts, but I put a 10,000 watt in, and it's been working good. So if that starts freezing up, then this unit detects it, and it turns back into an air conditioner. This portion heats up, melts the ice, and the inside, where it's getting the air conditioning now, those heating coils heat up and heats the air. So they're pretty good. They're pretty efficient. But you know, when you start getting into the upper teens, you know, low 20s and down, these start struggling a little bit. But it's been working great. I'm very grateful for that. And obviously, guys, the best investment you can make on your homestead is a wood stove. I installed this back in 2017, I think it was. I'm going to put a link to that video up here. And this has been working out wonderful for us. Whenever these cold fronts come through, of course our air conditioning wasn't very good, or our heat pump wasn't very good at that time. But this bad boy overheats the house. This is amazing how much heat it puts out. The only problem with stoves is it doesn't heat your rooms, obviously, only the main room that it's in. But hey, if the power ever goes out and you can't keep your house warm, this is the way to go. There's nothing like setting up a few sleeping bags in your living room and enjoy the warm heat. So our outside spigots for the house, they're not the frost-free type spigots. So I wrapped insulation around the spigot itself, and I put this insulative cover over it. And we've been through this before a year or two ago, and it's worked perfectly. The rest of our spigots outside are these frost-free type, where when you shut the water off, the water drains down underground, and this keeps this empty so that it doesn't freeze and bust the pipes. All right, so inside the greenhouse, it's noticeably warmer. This should be a few degrees, maybe 5 even, degrees warmer than outside. The reason for that is obviously the wind isn't blowing on you, but the heat from the earth itself, because just a few days ago we were in the 60s, you know, in here. In fact, no, it hit like 73. It was crazy. But anyways, the earth is much warmer than the air, of course, when there's such a drastic change in temperature. So all the heat from the beds, the earth itself, that's maintaining the temperature in here, and this is kind of holding it in. Now, if you see over there, I got those propane tanks. Let me show you how those work. So here I got these propane heaters. I'm going to put a link in the description to where I got these. You can pick them up there if you need some. Very simple. Turn the gas on. And then you put this on. I put it on low, but you can put it on wherever you want. There's a little button here. I can't do nothing with gloves on. There's a little button here that'll get the gas going. You just get yourself an igniter. And you hold that button here. Hold that down until you see this turning red. And this sensor right here picks it up and it keeps the gas going. If something were to happen where that flame in there blew out or whatever, this will sense that there's no more heat and it'll shut the gas off immediately. But that's putting out a considerable amount of heat. That's one. There's another one over here. We can do the same thing too. Hold it down until you see that turning red. That should do it. Now I'm going to put this on, yeah, it is on low. There is a lot of heat coming off of this thing. If needed, what I'm going to do is keep this on low in here, and this should keep it above freezing in here without any problems. Now obviously this is going to produce a lot of carbon monoxide, so you don't want to be hanging out in here while this is going. And when you do come in here to turn this off, well, turn it off and open the doors. Now everything I have growing in here is very cold hardy. The cabbage, lettuces, even the cilantro, they're very, very cold hardy. I don't think I'm going to have any problem, especially with the cabbage, for this going down in the temperatures, down into even the low 20s. I don't think there's going to be a problem. But I have seen some of the stuff a couple years ago. Some of them were wilted. We got down to the single digits, and I guess it's a little too cold. But again, if that happens, I'm just going to kick one of these on for a little while. And it should keep it nice and warm in here. Well, warm, above freezing, so the plants don't suffer. So in the garden itself here outside, what we have growing is, I got 2 beds of cabbage. I'm not too concerned about those. Those are extra cabbages that we had. If they make it, they make it. If they don't, it's not a big deal for me. I got plenty in the greenhouse. But like I said, those were extra, and if they grow, great. If not, well, that's just the way it goes. Here is my cactus. That I'm concerned about. Now these cactus anyways, they're good for probably in the low 20s, mid 20s, maybe low 20s. I'm not too sure about low 20s, but maybe. And they'll handle that pretty good. But in the teens, they won't. So I have them covered. Like I said earlier, the ground is still warm, so I'm hoping that heat in there at night would keep that from freezing in there, so they don't die. Because when the cactus freezes, they turn into like a gel, and they're done for it. So I'm hoping this will keep them warm enough. Now, we had a really bad, the front come through, was it last week, and it was real gusty and windy. It knocked over, I think, basically two of my cactus. I left them on the ground. I didn't want to pick them up because I knew this cold front's coming. That way they're right on the ground. The heat of the ground is going to keep them from freezing. I just covered them up, everything, and that should keep them alive. Now these here didn't fall over, and I put some stakes down so it would hold the tarp up and not crush the plants. So that's basically what I prepared for. Now the well house, I have a well house for our well pump and everything. I insulated the pipes on those. Very important, because you bust those pipes, you don't have any water, obviously. So I got those all wrapped up in good insulation. And it's in a little housing, so it'll. We've been through this before, so I have no problem there. So yeah, I went through this property and I thought of everything I can think of that would freeze, that was important to us, and try to protect it somehow. So today is Sunday, and this cold front's supposed to, well, it's here already, but it's Monday and Tuesday are the really cold nights into the mid to low teens, and we'll see how everything survives. So it is now January 15th, and we got a very light dusting of snow. I'm not sure how cold it got last night. They said it was supposed to get down to 26, but I'm going to go check in the greenhouse now and see how it looks. But I want to check out the garden, and see if that cabbage made it. Well guys, this really gets me upset. The greenhouse, looks like my lettuce here suffered. They're wilted. And even my cabbage here doesn't look that great, but it looks like they're gonna make it. My broccoli looks like it suffered even more than the cabbage. And even my cilantro here looks like it suffered. So it must have got colder than low 20s. Actually, this morning it was 22. They said last night, before I went to bed, they said low 26. And I said, you know, they should be all right in here. You know, it'll probably be upper, you know, maybe 29, 30 degrees in here. And the lettuce and the broccoli can handle that. But it must have got much colder. Must have gotten the upper teens. So I don't know. It looks like my lettuce here is it might be done for it. It's sad too. You know, you put so much work into producing food, and then you get these cold fronts coming down here, and I don't know. It's pretty discouraging. It really is. Well, as you can see behind me here, we have a very light dusting of snow, and it's kind of sleeting and snowing on and off. I don't know, this doesn't look good. I highly doubt that my cactus are going to survive this. Tonight we're getting down to, what is it, 15, 16 degrees. And then the next night it's getting down to 12. So guys, it's January 17th. Last night I got down to 11 degrees, and the night before that was 15. But what was it? The night before that, they said it was supposed to get down to 26, so I didn't worry about it too much. I didn't turn the heat on. Instead, it got down to 17. And the lettuce got hit fairly hard. But because of that, I didn't turn the heat on. I figured, you know what? The lettuce is pretty much lost, and I didn't bother with the heat. But I didn't need to turn the heat on because they survived. Now, like I said, they got hit, but they just wilted down. I thought they were done for it, but on the other hand, it looks like they're going to be okay. If you look at the lettuce here, yeah, I mean, a lot of it wilted a little bit, but they didn't actually freeze. You know what I'm saying? They didn't turn into mush, basically, is what I'm saying. It looks pretty good, and I'm not too upset about it anymore. And my broccoli here looks like it wilted a little bit, but like I said, it didn't freeze. So they'll come back. They're going to come back. So I'm pretty happy about that. It looks like this is okay. Even my cilantro here, it looked like it got hit pretty hard, but it's going to make it. It's going to make it. So what have I learned from this? If it gets down in the if it gets down to the teens, I'm not going to worry about it too much anymore. Because they're in the greenhouse. Out there, maybe. Let's go check out the cabbage out there, see if that survived. And most importantly for me, those prickly pears cactus, see if they made it, and because I'm really looking forward to eating some prickly pears this summer or this fall. Looks like my cabbage over there survived pretty good. Got hit a little bit, but it'll come back. It looks pretty good. Now, I haven't even checked under the tarp here to see if these cactus made it. I have a funny feeling they didn't, but let's find out. I'll tell you, it's weird seeing ice here. All right, here goes. Come on, cactus. Oh boy, yeah, they got hit. Yeah, they got hit, but I think they're gonna make it. I think they're gonna make it. Yeah, they got hit, but I don't know. They're kind of frozen. This one here is thawed out. So like this one here, you can see it's kind of wrinkly over here. They turn into a mush. So that one's a goner. This one here is a goner too. This might be okay. The main, I would just call it the main trunk. This one's a goner. So the main trunk, I think it's okay, and that's the important thing. See, this still has frost on it here. But the part that's thawing out now is kind of mushy. So I don't know how much of it is gone. Well, I won't know until, you know, a couple more days later. I think it'll survive, but a couple of those pads they're done for it. They grow very fast too in the summer, so I think we're going to be okay here. And this one here looks like it did better. Looks like it did a little bit better. The plant fell over, of course. So the ones that the winds, those gusty winds knocked over, I think they fared better. The ones on the ground, touching the ground, they fared better. Yeah, these are still pretty solid. These I think are going to be okay. Obviously I got to bring them back up, and some of them maybe replant them into the ground. In this last one here, I think it'll be all right. Although this one here is kind of mushy, but the rest, what I've noticed is the younger pads, they don't fare so well, but the older pads, they do better in the cold. For whatever reason, I guess the newer pads, they're just too delicate and tender, I guess, and the older ones are tougher. I think they'll survive. We shouldn't have a problem. I was really worried about, especially getting down to 11 degrees last night, that these things completely dying down. But I think they're going to be okay. Some of these I'm going to have to, you know, put the pads in the ground and replant them. But for the most part, they are just fine. Even the pads, if you separate a pad, they'll survive like a month, you know, no problem. Because when I received these, it took a month to get to me from overseas, from Malta. I forgot what happened back then, but it was delayed in the shipping and something, and I thought they were going to arrive dead, but they didn't, the pads. So these are going to be just fine. My cat, everything's going to be fine. But I was, like I said, I was really concerned. So not a complete loss. Okay guys, so I appreciate you watching. Please like, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video.